Welcome to the Echo Oscar Delta podcast, where we talk to Navy EOD techs and hear the stories that they want to share. All ideas, thoughts, and statements are those of the guest and the host of Echo Oscar Delta, and not of Navy EOD or Navy as a whole.
All right. Well, appreciate you coming in today on the Echo Oscar Delta podcast. We have Chad Munroe. He did 20 years, retired in 2020 as a senior chief. Did 9 deployments, most of them in CENTCOM, a few in Africa. Did a lot, most of those deployments as an EOD tech, but came into the Navy as an IS. So has a little bit of experience on understanding what the regular fleet is like. But even before that, went through some challenges earlier on. So I think what we talked about before and what we do is kind of highlight whatever you want about prior to the Navy, and then kind of what got you in and how those helped shape your time in the military, and then some of the things that have helped you get through some of those experiences even after the military. So right now, I guess I'll kind of turn it over to you for a bit.
Sure.
Wherever you want to start out.
I guess the easiest thing to do is talk about my childhood, kind of how I got shaped. I was born in 1973. My parents were part of the Seventh-day Adventist. They call it a church. I kind of call it a cult. Growing up in there, kind of saw things didn't jive with the Bible and the way. And so there was always something wrong. I felt something wrong with that. My dad and mom were gymnastics coaches for this Seventh-day Adventist college. So even at 3 years old, I was out doing stuff on the gymnastic mats and flexible and good body awareness. And I did that gymnastics till I was 12. And then I grew too tall from 12 to 13. Got really lanky and couldn't do that anymore. So my dad's friend was a bodybuilder, helped me start lifting weights and doing all that.
Nice.
I was also into a lot of skiing since I could walk. Parents had me on ice skates since I could walk. So, a lot of fitness things as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have many friends growing up, being in that weird, weird Seventh-day Adventist thing. So, I was in a Seventh-day Adventist school, grade school and middle school. My parents started me late, so my friend group was the grade ahead of me. Okay. And so I was always hanging out with those guys, but I was in school with the younger kids. I always just felt out of place. In 7th grade, or actually 6th grade, I wanted to catch back up before I graduated 8th grade. So I did 6th and 7th grade in 1 year. Wow. I was able to skip 7th grade and go right into 8th grade and graduate with all my friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then it was a interesting time. My parents, when I was 6 years old, so my brother had really bad croup when he was a baby, and we shared a room for a while, and then he was just crying so much I couldn't sleep. So they built a room in the basement, and at 6 years old, I was in the basement. And so, I was alone a lot, but that actually gave me skills, like independent thinking skills, and that really paid off in the future, I think. Yeah. Stuff that I've realized the last couple of years, I used to be angry about, but now it's like, it made me who I am, and I'm glad for it.
Yeah.
I had, as a child, I had some abuse things that happened, and it really made me want to be as dangerous and as masculine as I could be. Right. And that helped shape me as well. Another thing that you think is bad, but God provides a way for you to go in a different direction and help you through those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after middle school, my dad got a job. He left the church. My parents left the church, and we moved to Oregon. My dad got a job at the University of Oregon, and we moved my freshman year in high school. It was a big culture change there. Didn't have any friends. I thought it would be cool, even though I didn't know anything about it, was to join the high school football team. I'd been lifting weights for a few years, so I was really strong, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I was getting picked on a lot more with that. And after that football season, I didn't touch it again. And then I got into a fight at school with one of those guys on the football team that was picking on me. I just got sick of it one day, and I'm like, let's do this thing. I got my nose broken, and my parents were like, I'd always wanted to do martial arts, but they thought it was too violent. So when I was 15, they finally let me join martial arts, started doing Taekwondo.
Okay.
And I just fell in love with it. I was skipping school, going to train. I would be there as soon as school would end at 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. at night, well after they shut down. I had a friend group that I formed there. They were mainly older guys than me, guys in like college.
Yeah.
And I was 15. Started competing, and I was hooked with competition.
Nice.
My parents used to sign waivers when I was 16, 17 years old so I could compete. I went to the nationals, so it used to only be black belts could compete at nationals. In 91, when I was 17, they had a red belt division. Red belt's right before black belt.
Okay.
And I got a bronze medal in the adult division.
That's awesome.
That year, and I was like, I'm going to nationals every year from here. And also at 17, I met my now wife. We dated. She was the sister of my Taekwondo master's wife.
Oh,
they
really?
came to visit one summer, and we hung out and just fell in love that summer.
Yeah.
And things happened. There was no internet, no cell phones. She had to go off to college, and so we kind of didn't see each other for a long time.
Yeah.
We'll get back around to, she's my wife now. And that summer, I got my black belt when I was 18, went to Korea and trained in Korea for that summer. It opened my eyes to a different level of skill set. Kind of like if you're in Lithuania and you're a basketball player and you come to the NBA, you have nothing, you have to get better because you're just around people that are better than you.
Yeah.
I came back, and I started working as a full-time job teaching and training Taekwondo.
Okay.
And I did that from 18 years old till I was 26 years old. So
Wow.
I was teaching, training. 95, I went to nationals, and I finally made the podium stand, which means I get to go to team trials. They take the top 6 in the nation. You fight round robin against each other. I did well enough there that I got to go to the US Olympic Festival that year, got offered a permanent residency at the Olympic Training Center. Wow. I was a lightweight, by the way. I used to fight at 154 pounds. Wow. I'm like 220 now.
Yeah, a little different.
And, everything was going really well. I had a bunch of national champions that I was training with at my school. So I turned down the Olympic Training Center offer. And the next year, all those guys moved away.
Oh, no.
And then I also met my ex-wife that year, started dating her, and got married pretty quick. Got married in 96, was an insta-dad, and, 2 young kids. And I was still trying to compete, but my mind wasn't quite there. And that was my first inkling that God was pushing me in another direction.
Yeah.
Ended up moving out to Virginia Beach to work for a master that was the Olympic coach. His brother had just died, and he had a school. And so I went out there, and he's like, oh, go to Virginia State. We see how you do, and maybe I have a job for you. So I went and won Virginia State. It was no big deal. And he's like, all right, you're going to run my brother's school who passed away, but you'll come train with me in the morning. So I'd go train with him in the mornings. There was another Taekwondo master from Korea, a younger guy, and I'd train with him in the afternoons, and then just going to nationals, trying to make the Olympic team from 95 to 99. 98, I went to nationals, and I made it to the quarterfinals, and the guy I was fighting, he was a permanent resident at the Olympic Training Center, and we fought, and I thought I won the game, the bout, but I lost, and he ended up going and winning the whole nationals. And even after our fight, he came up to me. He's like, "Bro, you won that.
Really?
I'm sorry." And I was really upset about that for a long time. But if I had stayed that route doing Taekwondo, I never would have gone into the Navy. So that's another nudge from God, like, hey, I got something better planned for you.
Right.
Yeah. So tried out for the Olympics in '99, lost the first round, and I was like, all right, I got kids, I got a wife. This is a poor man's sport. It's not like you're in track and field where you get sponsorships. Taekwondo was not getting sponsorships back then. So I had met one of my neighbors was a SEAL, and he had taken me up to SEAL Team 2 a couple of times and gone running up there with them, and kind of just I was like, this is pretty cool. You get paid to jump out of planes and do all this other stuff, and I was like, I got to have something that gives me some adrenaline in my life and gives me a sense of purpose. And then one of my students at the Taekwondo school was a recruiter for the Navy. So he helped me get in.
Nice.
In January of 2000, I joined the Navy as an intelligence specialist. I thought I wanted to go to BUDS. Really quick back up, though. Back in 97, there was some... my wife and my friend had done something that was really not cool, and it really affected me. And I'd put in for a divorce at one time. We had made up, and I really never got the full story from her, but I always knew something in the back of my mind wasn't right.
Yeah.
So joining the Navy, I still had that in the back of my mind. I'd been training so hard for Taekwondo. So I went through boot camp, went through ISA school, and then went down to BUDS. And I was doing great. I had never failed anything. I was in first phase, and one day I was just like, you go out on the weekends with the guys, and I just saw how it was. I was like, if I stay down here for 6 months or maybe longer, I don't know if I'm going to have a marriage. I knew just how it was. So I quit one day, and cadre were like, why are you quitting? And well, I don't know. I didn't know better, but I felt like, hey, this is a personal thing for me. I'm not going to tell you. So I was like, yeah, it's personal. I'm not going to tell you. So they wrote on my transfer package leaving, never ever recommended for any special programs to include EOD, diver, any of that. Right.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, I guess God didn't want me to be a SEAL. So I went out and was assigned to the USS Theodore Roosevelt as a IS. And it was a big letdown, but I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make the most of this. And I really enjoyed my time on the ship. I learned a lot about the Navy and how things work. Right after 9/11, we deployed, did 158 days with no port on the TR.
That's tough.
I was an intelligence specialist, but I joined the Navy when I was 26, so I was a lot more mature. And as a E3, my senior chief put me in charge of the pubs vault.
Okay.
I made E4, and they put me in charge of all the special access programs on the ship.
Nice.
So I never had to go mess crank, which was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I met the EOD team from Mobile Unit 2 was on board.
Okay.
Yeah, during one of the Com2Xs. And I was like, what do you guys do? And he talked to me. I was like, wow, that seems pretty cool. I think I want to try that. And so before that deployment, I went and did the PT test so I could have it ready to go. Mm-hmm. And, did that, during that deployment, got my package ready and all that. My senior chief is like, I'll be supportive of you to go do that if you get your ESWAS. So I was like, all right, I'll get my ESWAS. So I knocked it out like in record time.
Yeah.
I came back and I'm like, all right, can you sign my package? And he goes, no, it was surface and air. I was like, no. He's like, okay, well, as long as you get your air before you leave, I'll sign it. I never got my air. Pulled back from that deployment and went straight to dive school in 2002.
Nice.
Yeah, we started with 35 guys, I think, in dive school. Graduated 13.
Oh, wow.
Out of those guys, we picked up some other guys that had rolled out from EOD school. And then it was like core. We lost most of our class.
Really?
Yeah. We lost a huge number of our class at one of the tests. And so There was 2 officers and 4 enlisted that started dive school that we graduated EOD school together.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had graduated 13 total at the end.
That's
a
big drop.
yeah. And I remember being in Corps and just the early mornings and all the night study and the weekends. I'm thinking to myself, if this is how the whole school is, I'm going to quit now. This is not cool.
Yeah.
Luckily, one of the instructors was like, just hold on. You get past Corps, things are going to loosen up. And so I was like, all right, I can hold on a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah. It going through school, it's actually a lot. Like the physical side it's not too crazy for too long, but the mental side, I think it's a lot more than most people are expecting. And even if you're intelligent, which pretty much everybody who gets accepted into the EOD program is intelligent to some form or another.
Yeah.
But it's tough to mentally process that much information in such a short amount of time and then get it back out and stay motivated.
Totally. I mean, I saw Naval Academy grads failing out. I'm like, why am I still here? I don't get this. I barely graduated high school. So I was in about junior year of high school. I just started going and doing Taekwondo so much. I was skipping so much school that I wasn't, not at school, basically. Yeah. And my parents are like trying to figure out how they're going to get me to graduate. They're like, all right, the community college has a high school completion program. What we'll do is we'll send you out to see my now wife, because she was in college and she had a spring break. She's like, they're like, we'll get you a ticket to go see her if you finish high school. I was like, okay, I'll go do this. So I went record time again. You got to give me some motivation.
Yeah.
Went and finished that and went out and saw her for her spring break in '92. That was the last time I had seen her.
Yeah.
For a long time until,
wow.
Fast forward 25 years later, we were married, but we'll get to that story.
Yeah.
So yeah, where was I? Graduated EOD school 2003. We were one of the first people to go through the Otay Lakes static line and free fall course. Nice. So that was pretty cool as a new guy going straight to do that. Yeah. I loved skydiving. In 1995, I had this dream. It was really weird. I'm in my dream. I'm in the airplane and it's night and this door opens and I can see the city lights. And I jump out with my parachute on. And I can feel the wind and just the peace. And I'm looking around, and it's just like so cool. Fast forward to the first night jump in Otay. We're flying over the border, and you can see the Tijuana lights and the bullfighting ring and everything. And they open that door, and that dream, it was exactly like that dream.
That's
cool. Crazy. Even jumping out and the feeling, it was that dream repeated.
That's awesome.
But 95, I did one AFF jump after that. After that dream, I called Skydive Oregon. I'm like, hey, can I go jump? They're like, yeah, not today. Come show up tomorrow. And so I went and did that. But it was too expensive. I couldn't keep it going.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the jumping part of it at that time. Fast forward, in the future, doing work jumps. I don't ever want to jump again. It was so much. But yeah. So did that, and then went to San Diego to TAC training. And during TAC training, one day, one of the cadre comes up and he's like, hey, you need to call your chief up at Mobile Unit 11. I was like, okay. Well, I had thought, all these guys are going to Guam or SIG and it was the cool places. Mobile Unit 11 was known for riding carriers at that time. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he's like, hey, I need your sizes for your equipment and your uniforms. I was like, for what? And he's like, well, we're deploying to Iraq pretty much as soon as you get here. I was like, okay, a little bit cooler now.
Yeah.
So finished TAC training, enjoyed that, checked into Mobile Unit 11, and got all my gear and turned around and came right back down for team training like a month later. Wow. Went through team training, doing all that. Came back, took Christmas leave, and deployed to Iraq in January. as a new guy.
That's
fresh out of school.
That's quick.
Yeah, it was. So, we were in Camp Babylon, which was cool. We lived in Saddam's palace. They had no place to store all our demo. And so that was the most hardened structure. And so we lived there for 7 months up there. It was originally supposed to be a 4-month deployment, but something happened. The Guam team that was supposed to relieve us couldn't do that. So we ended up pushing out plus 7 months out there. Wow. And we had a huge AOR. So, we're going to 2 hours one way to disarm an IED and come back. We had 2 different teams because there's eight of us, Alpha team, Bravo team, and we just rotate, You got a call one day, the next call is me. Bam, 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 bam. And then as a new guy, they got me worked up to where I was a team leader.
Wow, that's pretty good.
At the end of before the end of the deployment, running my own calls. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
May of 2004, we got a call and we're driving to it as Ukrainians called in an IED, and we're driving there and this vehicle pulls out in front of our convoy, and it's like slowing down and speeding up, and we're like catch up to that vehicle, and it was like watching us for a long time, and then it like took off. Pretty soon we're driving, we're a click or two away from where they had given the grid reference for this IED, and back then we had no doors on our vehicle because we didn't have armor. We just pulled all the doors out, leashes on the body armor, welded steps on, so you just kind of hang out the side of the door, right? And I just remember, bam, just getting hit. Like someone had slapped my ears with their hands. I couldn't see. I felt air going up into my sinus cavity, into my lungs, and then being sucked back out, kind of in and out of consciousness, finally waking up and can't see anything. There's just dirt everywhere. We pull off to the side of the road. My OIC was in the front passenger seat. He got blown all the way in, and the gunner up top couldn't see his legs, so he thought his legs were blown off. So I ran around to get the med kit. So he was okay, and then the gunner started taking care of him, or maybe the driver was, I forget. And then we were working with a Polish air assault combat team. They're kind of like the Rangers for the Poles. Okay. They're really good. And me and one of the Poles were standing in the middle of the road, and this vehicle starts driving at us. I mean, he was hauling ass, so we just unload on him. Come to find out, we had to finish this whole thing. It was 2 OFAB aerial bombs.
Really?
Rigged with a command wire out into the field.
Dang.
Those dudes hit us, jumped in their car, took off the other way from us. Well, there was the Ukrainians that had called in the IED were down that way. They had 2 APCs and like 24 dudes. So they turned around and decided they would try and blow through us. So me and the Pole shot the driver in the face. There was another guy we hit in the passenger seat, and there was one guy down in the floorboards of the back seat.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we ended up having to go, just doing SSE on that. They medevaced our OIC out, drove home, kind of took a knee. They flew him up for an MRI. For us, we really have medical at Camp Babylon, so we had the Anglico had a corpsman.
Okay.
So he just kind of came up and did a neuro.
Yeah.
We're all messed up. He's like, yeah, you guys need to take a few days off, but really no treatment, nothing.
Yeah.
We were all rocked. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of pounds that was. God kept us safe. We went back. There was frag all over the road. None of us got fragged.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then I think what maybe has saved us was they tried to hide it and bury it in this berm.
Okay.
And so it kind of tamped some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Which may have saved us.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. So that was the first time I'm like, oh, this is real. This is pretty crazy.
How long into your deployment was that?
That was the 5th month. That was in May.
Okay.
We started in January. So we had a couple more months to finish up, and
man.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So that was the first of many times getting hit. Came back from that deployment. A few new guys on the team. A couple other guys left the team. and started workups again. Did the UIS fleet eval in that November. So we're in Crescent Harbor, freezing, just having wetsuits for 2 or 3 weeks, just going around all day at 20 feet underwater with this, handheld sonar looking for shapes. And this is when I was like, I hate diving.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. So did that. Went back through team training pretty quick again with our team. And then we were scheduled to go out on the Nimitz.
Okay.
Yeah, to do that cruise. So we deployed in 05. So 04 was Iraq, 05 was the Nimitz. So we get out on the Nimitz on that deployment, and a couple Marine EOD techs got killed, and they needed some people to backfill. So because I had prior experience, they sent me out with a couple more guys.
Yeah.
And we went into Takedum, Habbaniyah, Ramadi, working MSR Michigan for a few months out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was going to Iraq the first time to the plan being going on a carrier cruise the entire time? Were you?
We were planning on anything can happen.
Okay.
We packed everything out.
Yep.
Ready to go. I wasn't too happy about being on a carrier,
Right.
but I was able to get off.
Yeah.
And that was crazy. I mean, the night and day difference between 04 and 05.
Really?
It was all up armor. There were IEDs. I mean, MSR Michigan looked like the moon. They had so many craters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It makes me think about like movies, right? And how I was just watching one the other day, and it's funny how different when you don't have any experience with it. You see the movies and they're like light-skinned Humvees driving around, getting shot, right? And people are kind of not really caring, but like whatever. And you're like, that's I don't know. Like when you don't have armor, there's a different level of like you kind of do care.
Yeah.
And then having armor when you're just getting the pop shots, kind of just like just keep going, I guess. Like that's got to be a big relief to fly in and see that you have that armor after the experiences that you had on the first deployment.
Definitely. It was a somewhat sense of safety.
Right.
Our Humvee broke one day and we still had to, respond to this IED. So we jumped in the back of a Bradley and I'm talking to the guys. I'm like, security, hey, stop 300 yards out, blah, 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 blah. And we stopped. I'm like, hey, are we there? And I heard the other security say, no, you're on top of it. And it went off right underneath us in the Bradley.
Oh my gosh. Can't trust anybody.
No. So we got our Humvee back, still responding. It was like I went 3 days once with no sleep. We were going so much. Just running on adrenaline. You would be on a call, get a call, and then get another call while you're on that call. So you're writing down the 9-line reports and juggling 3 different calls, and you're just going. Get back, lay down on your cot, get a little bit of food, maybe a shower, and you get another call, and it's just rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. We had the Polish Air Assault Combat Team the year before. We had a lot of guys for security. Out there, they had tanks or Bradleys every quarter mile in Michigan, so you would get a Bradley or a tank as your escort, and that was the only security you had.
Wow.
Whatever security was at the IED, and then that.
Interesting.
So you're hanging out there a little bit.
Yeah.
We were moved out to Corregidor, which is on the edge of Ramadi, and we were responding out of there for a while. And the team that was in Ramadi had something going on, and they couldn't do it. They were normally doing the route clearance ops, so I never had done that in the past. So I jumped in the Buffalo one night, and we're doing the route clearance ops on Michigan, and we had done 9 IEDs. And they had those little dune buggies with ground penetrating radar. They would throw out chem lights to mark the IEDs for us. And we're driving and we're looking for the chem light. I'm right behind the driver. I got my hand on the window and I'm looking, and we stopped and I looked down. There's two 155s, a propane tank, and a Seneo base station. I'm like, move. And as soon as I said move, I just remember getting blown back across the buffalo, and I remember just waking up, can't see anything. The compartment's filled with smoke. Check to make sure all of my bits are there. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, is everyone okay? And the driver that was right next to me stands up and turns around, and his arm is just dangling by a couple tendons.
Yeah.
Tourniquet. Our corpsman's in the Humvee behind us. Open the back hatch, jump out. Ended up breaking part of my hand on the window when I got blown back, and then jumping out, I got a heel spur.
Oh no!
So I ran back, got the corpsman. He went up and took care of him, and then we finally found the IED. It was in a big culvert that went underneath the entire Michigan.
Yeah. So
we got about 2 lanes of stuff out of there.
Wow.
Ordnance and fire extinguishers packed with PE4. It's all daisy chained together, and then we couldn't get the rest out. So 2 or 3 lanes worth. So I called the ground force or the area commander. I was like, hey, you got 2 choices. You can put someone here and they can watch this, or I can blow the highway. And he's like, blow the highway. And I'm like, well, recommendation, still put someone there. Now's a choke point. So I ended up blowing it. I have a really cool picture of half of the MSR Michigan in the air.
That's awesome.
Did that. Got hit another time. IED went right up behind us, blew all our comms antennas off. And then getting ready to head back to fly out the last day. We're driving back, and the gunner's hatch is open. We get hit by an IED, and the overpressure blows all the doors and the hatch open.
Yeah.
All these times where God was like protecting me, for something in the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Those are the first times getting hit, and I'm like, what am I going to do now? I had plans to go screen for development group while I was on that deployment, but then because I had injured my hand and my heel, I had to wait for all those to heal when I got back. And so I went to R&T, readiness and training. The teams were all getting ready for their first Task Force Troy deployment. Okay. So I got to use all those, the hundreds of IEDs that I had done the last couple of years to help train these guys.
Yeah.
And get them ready to go, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so I did that while I'm getting healed, getting ready. And 06, I went out and screened for development group.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I just knew the PT test, and that was it. And week-long screening to see if they want to pick you up. And apparently they wanted to pick me up. And then I checked into the command September 11th, 2006.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How, well, what was I going to ask? Actually, backing up. So you'd mentioned a couple times, basically God protecting you.
Yes.
Did you, so you grew up, knowing about God and all that. Were you thinking about that when those things happened, or?
So, back up. When I was 16, 17, 18, I met a friend he's a pastor now, actually.
Okay. But
he was in college, and he used to drag me along to the college Bible studies with him.
Yeah.
As a younger guy. And that's where I learned about grace, and like, you don't have to work for your salvation. Mm-hmm. I learned what God's really about, what Jesus did for us. And I decided one day I'm going to get baptized. So I walked down to the church down the road from my house and met the pastor. I was like, hey, I want to get baptized. He's like, well, do we have this course we'd like you to go through? I was like, all right, well, if you don't want to do it, I'll go find someone that will. And he's like, show up Sunday. So I showed up all by myself. I didn't tell anyone. I figured this is between me and God.
Yeah. And
so I got baptized when I was 18. But then all the things that happened with my wife and being in the military, I kind of, I knew God. I had faith always, but I wasn't walking
Okay. Yeah.
the walk at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go through these events and you're kind of thinking, you know, because of that faith, that is that something that you feel like really helped you in those events? Like, even if you weren't walking close, just having that faith that, hey, there is a God out there, and he's obviously protecting me for some reason.
Oh, definitely. I can tell you a couple stories. One of my deployments to support a joint task force, we hit this terrorist training camp, and they flew on 47s and fast roped out the back. It was supposed to be only 30 feet. It was a 90-foot rope. Well, I was the last one out. I helped the dog guy get out. So I threw the dog guy out, grabbed the rope, kind of get my feet on. I start sliding. My feet peel off.
Oh, no.
Well, what had happened was they had moved so much. The 90-foot rope was stretched out there. I'm just hanging on. All I can do is pray.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how. You know, full kit. EOD guys, we're probably one of the heaviest guys out there with all the demo we carry. And somehow I held on. Finally, my butt hit some soft sand. I'm like, whew. There's a firefight going on right in front of me.
Jeez.
They back up the helo, cut the rope, and the ring hits me on the helmet.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm dazed. Whew. Finish up there. There's a little mountain up here. We got a hill. We got to go take high ground. We go around the hill, get to this like little level spot, and the dog pushes past me, and he's like, "What is he doing? Looks like he's biting on a rock or a bush or something." And I look over and I see my team leader, who's also one of the recce guys, and he takes a shot, and I just remember going, "Ding!" It's like, oh, I know, something blew up, but it had like dazed me so much. I didn't know what was going on for a minute. And then I saw a fire going. I walked up, checked it out. The guys, luckily, I think he shot through the S-vest and severed some of the explosive train. So half of it went, the other half caught fire on this dude. And he just started burning. So I took a quick picture. I was like, let's get it out of here. We still had guys up top that we had to take care of. So we went, took high ground, took care of them, started calling in airstrikes. We were up there for maybe an hour or so while that guy was burning. And
Really?
I remember my troop chief saying, smells like burnt hot dogs. And then we got, that was all done. We got in the helo on the way out, and it really smelled like we were all at a barbecue.
Really?
I couldn't eat sausages for months after that. Yeah. But that was one of those times where it's like event after event, God was like protecting.
Yeah.
Just one of dozens and dozens of these events where he was watching over and protecting me and the people with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were driving one day up in the mountains to hit this target, and one of our supporting elements was driving. It was a private, and I looked over, and he goes like this. And I looked over and saw the front right tire going off the road. So I roll over, grab the gunner in, and we flip upside down about 12 feet. Bam.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was one of those slow motion moments where time just slows down. And I'm like thinking to myself, am I going to break my neck? Am I going to break my shoulder, my legs? I'm like, just hurry up and fall. I want to get this over with. It seemed like we were in the air upside down forever. If it was another, couple dozen yards down the road, it would have been a 100-foot drop.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Ended up jumping in the back of one of our pickups and driving the target, doing that target, jumping in another vehicle and heading back. And then they're still trying to recover that Humvee on the way out.
That's crazy.
The guys in my teams were always like, we don't want to ride with you. You've been blown up so many times. And I was like, well, you can look at it that way, or I survived all those. Maybe you want to ride with me.
Exactly. I remember I was with first group, and there was a guy that everybody was like, you either want to be nowhere near him or standing right next to him.
Yeah.
Because everything happens all around him, sometimes a little bit to him, but he always walks away. And it's so funny. Yeah. He like, sometimes being right next to you is the good thing. You're going to see some cool stuff. When you did, let's see, 2003 was your first deployment.
2004.
2004. Okay.
Yeah, January.
So 2004. So you did a few years, at Mobile Unit 11, and then you went over to Development Group.
Yeah.
And, when you went from, well, I'll just call it regular EOD over to the other level. Did you have an idea of how different it would be? Because I'm assuming that there is a difference in the way you train, not specifically in the TTPs, but in the intensity, complexity, full expanse of training. And then, so I guess in the training side, how much different was it than what you were expecting it to be? And then on the deployment side of things, how much different was it being an EOD guy doing the EOD responses that you did prior versus being an EOD guy and being over at that level doing it?
So getting there, the level of responsibility that's entrusted with you is way higher than you can imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of times you have to make decisions on your own that affect a lot of people and also affect strategy with the way the nation does things. And so that's a lot of responsibility that's put on you. The training, it was definitely the hardest training I had ever gone through. Somehow I made it through. There was times when I thought I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I did. Deployments, it's a different animal. It's not better or worse. It's just a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of support and money and funding for you to get trained up to where you need to be and what you need to do is there. Unlike the mobile units where you're putting duct tape on your kit to make sure you can, make stuff work. So that's mainly the big things. I remember when I first checked into my first squadron, the Master Chief pulled us all aside and he's like, listen, you guys are a political tool. Get used to it. There's going to be things that you don't want to do depending on who's in that office. But if you can't handle that, you need to leave now.
Yeah.
So I kept that in the back of my mind. We were political tool.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, so you go through training over there. Well, actually that'd be an interesting thing. Sorry. Questions are coming as I'm talking and thinking.
Yeah.
So there's one of the questions I ask a lot is, doing your first deployment or your first IED, right? After you get out of school. I like thinking about the differences because I think about it when, going through school, how little you actually know about what the community you're trying to join and what it's going to be like on the other side. Right. But you've got kind of two of those experiences, right? Where you went through EOD school and then you went and did your first deployment and that first IED that you went down on. How was that experience for you? And then fast forward to you go through training again at a different level, and then you go and your first IED that you take care of when you're on a target at that level. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind trying to
So I think at the time going through school, the war in Iraq had just kicked off when I was in school. I don't think Schoolhouse really prepared us for what we would encounter over there. It was kind of like we got to Babylon in 04, and there was a team that was already there. So doing turnover with them, going out and doing a left seat, right seat with them. That was the first time we drove the robots.
Really?
Was when we got there in country.
Yeah.
Right? Learning how to do that, how to just do all our TTPs. And then going through training and at selection, it really, for the EOD portion of it, really did get you ready for what you need to do. But getting on the team and picking the brain of the guys that have been there for a while was where it was at too. Yeah. The guys that are most current and they're actually doing the job can give you the best advice. And then, over there, making decisions, whether it's right or wrong, you have to make a decision and do something. You can't just take your time. Kind of like when you're doing a roadside, you have all the time in the world to take care of this thing. Over there, everyone's waiting on you to make sure everything's safe. And you have to ensure that it's 100% safe, right? You may have to hold everyone up and they might not like it.
Yeah.
You might have to do some other things and they may not like it. But they understand that, they don't want to get blown up either.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Thinking about like some of the things that you had said about when you went to R&T division at Mobile 11 and setting up the training for the guys that are about to go. I remember, 2009 getting on my first team and the, how guys were talking about what was going on. And you talked about, I remember this specifically. There were multiple times where, we didn't go out during even our just internal team workup and do one roadside. It was like, we're doing a roadside with a secondary follow on, like rejock everything. It's not all full up. Oh, you're not back. Go back out. They just found something else. And that was specifically because the guys would talk about that. I remember on my second team, one of the guys said there was one day it ended up being a multiple day calls because the only reason why it came back is because they ran out of demo and they couldn't get a resupply. It was quicker to go back to base, get a resupply of demo than it was to have another team get to them. So it's, it totally makes sense having that some of your best training is going to be from the guys who just got back, because especially if you're going to go to the same AO.
Yeah. So definitely, I did 4 different deployments at the command once I went through selection, and then I came off and went to cadre, and having that fresh experience being cadre to build the drills for the guys going through selection, I think that was key as well.
Yeah.
Then they like to do that. Get the guys that had just come off of a deployment and get them in there to really make sure that the guys are getting what they need and what's current.
Right. Is there any, I know we've talked about several things. Not everything is for a podcast. But are there any, higher level events that you'd be willing to talk about? Not specifically like.
Sure. So for the longest time, intel assessments were that the, Iran and the Taliban hated each other and they would never work for each other. And I happened to be on a target where something just didn't look right. I made a decision to take something off that target, and it was one of the first pieces of Iranian influence ordnance
Really?
In that AOR. So, they changed their whole intel assessment because of that.
That's awesome.
Countrywide. There was that. Another time I was out in Nairobi, Kenya, and was supposed to go in and meet some people at the embassy the next day. So we went out and kind of partied a little bit, hung out, and woke up that morning. So we were right next to the Westgate Mall.
Okay. Yep.
And I was going to go get some coffee and some breakfast, and something was just like, no, just stay in bed. Something just told me to stay in bed. Well, I called my driver eventually because I had to be there like at 11. And my driver came, picked me up, and we're heading out, and this cop stops us. He's like, there's a firefight going on right down the road. I was like, oh, wow. And then we start driving, and then we hear honking, and these pickups are flying behind us. They're piled up with people. Well, they were injured people they were taken to the hospital. So I finally get to the embassy, and I was like, you guys know what's going on? And they're like, no. I kind of let them know. There's something going on at the mall, man. And so, yeah, it was that Westgate Mall terror incident while Al-Shabaab came in there and doing a lot of bad things in that mall. Yeah. And I was supposed to leave that next day. I got on a plane. I was flying out to where I was supposed to go to. I was asleep, and the pilot woke me up. They're like, hey, are you Chad? I was like, yeah. They're like, hey, they want you back at the mall. So we flew around right back Nairobi, and they drove me straight to the mall. And I was the representative for Department of Defense at the Westgate Mall incident, the explosives expert. I had to talk to a bunch of different countries. We had some FBI folks there, and I had to coach them because they wouldn't let me go in.
Okay.
I tried.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me go in, so I had to, talk to them about how to deal with suicide bombers or VBIDs, things that we thought may or could possibly be in there.
Yeah.
Just talking threat assessment with them mainly, and got to do that, as a enlisted guy.
That's pretty cool.
And then one day, like the second or third day, we're in the command post, and I see a Kenyan soldier run across the street with an RPG and run into the mall. I was like, well, that's interesting. All of a sudden you hear pop, bang, and you see some smoke coming up. So what they did, in their infinite wisdom, they decided to breach a door with an RPG. It caught fire. Well, they got to put the fire out. Hey, there's a mattress store. Let's put mattresses on the fire to put it out.
Oh my
Ended
God.
up burning the whole thing down, and I left the next day.
Yeah. Sometimes not all the decisions are great.
Yeah, but you never know where you find yourself.
Right.
And then, like I said, the level of responsibility you have, and being able to be autonomous. Thinking back to being a kid, being alone, doing stuff on myself, having to figure stuff out by myself, that prepared me to be able to do the job that I did.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tie-in. That, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm about to be that guy nowadays. It seems like people want to tie all the bad things that happen in your life as to the reasons why bad things are continuing to happen in your life. Whereas what you said at the very beginning, and this is a perfect example of that. Yes, bad things have, will, and continue to happen in each one of our lives. We have a choice. We can either let that be a crutch that we can make an excuse for all the future things that are not what we want, or we can say, hey, maybe there's something I can learn from that.
Definitely.
The autonomy from being in the basement by yourself most of the time. Like, okay, you were able to take that and turn that into something that is super valuable, not just for you, but literally in this case for the nation to use and take that adversity and turn it into a strength.
And it wasn't until just a few years ago, I have a friend that's also a counselor, and she helped me piece together my life. And she's like, you wouldn't be where you are now if these big life events hadn't happened. Yeah. If God, and she's also a believer, so she's like tying it in, hey, God let these things or took these things that happened to you and pushed you in his direction.
Yeah.
And it's just been the last few years that I've come to that I used to be a little bitter and angry. In the last few years, I've been able to forgive my ex-wife, and I had all that anger that got me through selection, that got me through those deployments, and it really did keep me alive, that anger.
Yeah.
But it doesn't serve me now. And being able to truly forgive someone, you feel like you were a prisoner that finally got let free.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a big event. Just being able to see that the trauma from being a kid that shaped me into wanting to do dangerous things. Yeah. If that hadn't happened, I may have been on a different path. Yeah. And I'm happy with who I am now. And I'm grateful for all those hard times and those things where I was disappointed. not making the national team in Taekwondo. That would have been cool, but I wouldn't have joined the Navy. I would probably still be doing that now. So
yeah, and I'm sure like all of those things, the push. I've never been good at martial arts, but with what little experience I have in there, to get to that level takes a lot of there's going to be a lot of suffering that you have to go through mentally and physically to say, tomorrow I'm still going to go train. And then after that, tomorrow I'm still going to go train. I'm going to continue doing this. And that teaches you, and sometimes you don't even realize it right away, but that teaches you how resilient, how to be resilient. And then that, like you said, you didn't end up making it where you initially at the time wanted to get to, but that resilience, that physical, strength that you got from that mental strength that you got from that was able to turn into, now you can get through the struggles in dive school, in EOD school, in selection training, and just the preparations for deployments. It's when you look at it in terms like that, it's awesome. It can give you, it can change you from being bitter to being grateful. Correct. I think. And that's what I feel like I'm hearing from you. And sometimes it takes a while to realize that.
It did. It took me after I got out and, just the last few years to really realize how grateful I am for all the hard things that happened.
Yeah.
Looking back when all the times God kept me alive. My last op was the one where I thought I was surely going to die.
Really?
We had a couple of guys augmenting and they forgot their suppressors, and we were on this mission and I was running a blocking position. I wasn't even doing EOD stuff. And we were providing suppressive fire for some other things that were happening. And every time these guys would open up, the 3-story building would start lighting us up and throw grenades. And I remember I was returning fire, and then something told me, I was like, these guys are going to die if I don't take care of them. So the moment I slung my rifle and grabbed these dudes and started moving them around, this immense peace came over. I was sure I was going to die. I mean, I had bullets hitting so close, it was spraying my face with dirt.
Really?
So I was just waiting for the white light at some point.
Yeah.
And so I just started moving these guys. But there's this peace that I've never felt before. I feel like when I made that decision to sacrifice myself for these guys, that God put his hand of protection over me.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I was able to, we had 2 grenades that were chucked at us. Dive in, put your feet towards it, hand over your head. They go off. Luckily, none of us got fragged. Get back up. These guys see someone, they start opening up again. They have A-dubs, so they're on each side of you. And I see I'm taking a look at the building to make sure, oh no, they're opening up against us. Ceasefire, let's move.
Yeah.
That was happening for a long time on that. And, that was also my very last op. I was like, okay, the dice have been rolled enough times. It's time to take a knee.
Yeah.
And so I got back from that deployment. And before that deployment, my team leader cornered me. He had just got back from NICO. And he's like, Chad, out of everyone in this command, you of all people need to go to NICO. I'm like, I think I'm good. He's like, looked at me. He's like, Chad. I'm like, all right, don't think about it. So I got back from that deployment and went to NICO. It was the best decision of my life.
Yeah.
Finding out what's wrong with your brain and realizing that you're not good.
Yeah.
And what you can do to help yourself. And had a lot of different, did NICO. Then my ex-wife and I split. She took my son and they moved to Oregon. So I'm like, well, training unit has a spot open. That's a lot closer to Oregon. So I ended up leaving and going there so I could be close to him and continuing to get brain treatments up at Camp Pendleton at was that Intrepid Spirit.
Yeah.
And then I went and did MERT. It's the magnetic TMS at the Brain Treatment Center in San Diego.
Yeah.
My nervous system was jacked up from so many years of deploying. So stellate ganglion blocks, I had 3 of those done at the in Balboa at the Pain Management Center. You know, you go overseas and your nervous system gets jacked up. You come home, it goes down, but it's never to baseline.
Yeah.
And then after so many deployments, you're just living like.
Yes.
And so I remember that first stellate ganglion block they gave me, and it was like, whoa, this is how people feel. My wife's driving me home from it, and like music came on, and I just start tearing up. Yeah. I'm like, why is this happening? I can feel emotion again. Food tastes good now. And then the doctor, the pain management doctor, she's like, yeah, I was in a lot of pain too still. She's like, have you tried ketamine? So they started me while I was still active duty and on some ketamine infusions. Got out, done hyperbaric oxygen therapy. There's a lot of nonprofits out there that help guys. You know, there's a lot you can do but believe it or not, I think there's probably more opportunities for guys that have been in special operations to get help while they're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's well, actually, the SGB shot.
Yeah.
So I did one of those, and I need you to just suck it up and do it again. But I had kind of an issue, and let me know if you had anything similar or not. So I got that shot, and the exact same experience. That aside from the crazy part with the shot where you feel like you're choking but you're not. Once I accepted that, then it was okay. That goes away pretty quick, but. You know, the shot's supposed to last for several months or so generally, right? And I think as you do it more, it lasts longer. It helps you like reset to hopefully the point where you don't need it anymore, right? So I did one of those, and I had an issue, and it's why I haven't gone back. When the shot started to wear off, it mentally messed with me because like the very next day, I heard lots of great things about it, and all of those things happened. I was able to sit in a room with my young kids, being young kids, and be okay with that, because I'm kind of at the point where I don't like lots of loud noises and craziness, because generally in my job, lots of loud noises and craziness means I have to go to work and solve problems. When your kids are just being kids, you don't necessarily have to quiet them down every time, right?
Right.
But the issue that I ended up having, and it's just a me and a mental issue, is when that started wearing off, like I got overly emotional at how much harder it was to deal with those things because the shot was wearing off. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like a mental mess with me, where it was like, I'm better now, but I'm not really better. The shot allowed me to be able to work on it. I hadn't completed that work yet. Did you have anything like that with that shot? Or?
I think luckily when my shot was wearing off, I was doing MERT.
Okay.
Which helps really reset your brain.
Nice.
They're trying to get the front, middle, and the back of your brain, mainly the alpha waves, to match up. My front never was able to. And then the ketamine. Ketamine is helpful for not only the pain, but also depression, and helps you really go internal and think about things in your life that are happening, and self-look. Yeah. So I was blessed to be able to have those things going on while mine wore off.
Yeah.
So
no, that's awesome. That's good to know. I think like I share that just so that if other people are having a similar issue, you're not the only one. Right. And then it's good to know, like, I don't know if it's proper terminology, but stacking the treatments. Like if there's more than one thing out, and going to NICO, going to Intrepid Spirit, going to a lot of those programs, I think it's awesome, because it's like physical injuries too, right? And mental injuries, I think, are I can think of them in as similar terms as physical injuries. Sometimes you just want to know if there's something wrong because you feel different. Okay, is this just me, or is there something wrong? And then, like when I go to the doc, I want to know what's wrong. I want to know how bad it is, and I want to have an idea, is there a way I can fix it? If there's not, okay, like a tendon that snapped. I can't reattach it. Okay, I've got a new normal now. If there's some brain stuff that's going on because of, getting rocked by a couple OFABs, and just years and years of doing the deployments, having someone take a look and be like, okay, yes, there are some things that are here, but here's a plan to get you to a better spot. Maybe not back to 100% where you were before any of this happened, but we can get you close. And sometimes that's enough to help motivate you to be like, okay, I don't have to be like this for the rest of my life.
Definitely. And, there are some things that you have to accept that memory, word recall, different things that I know about myself that I have to write things down or I'll forget it. It's coping mechanisms to get through.
Yeah.
But all in all, I got to be grateful that God kept me around for a purpose, and that, I look back, I probably shouldn't be here with all the things that happened. And the fact that I'm able to forgive my ex-wife and we can be on good terms. And then my kids, when I left my ex-wife, one of the sons didn't take it well, and I wasn't going to tell him what happened.
Yeah. He
came out last year. He was having a hard time, and he lived with me for about a year, and him and I grew closer, and it's, God provided. I prayed that I could somehow, him and I could patch things up, and we're almost best friends now,
That's awesome.
And there's that. And then I was struggling. I was probably drinking more than I should have, just because when I was on my last job at Homeland Security, I was traveling 1 to 2 weeks a month.
Yeah.
And it was just wearing on me and just being gone. And I prayed to God. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And that lady that helped me realize all this stuff, he brought her into my life so where I could realize all these things and take away all that pain. God cleared all that pain out into where now I'm happy with where I'm at and what's going on. And for the first time ever.
Yeah.
That's
he's trying to think, because the last time we talked was 8 days ago. So you're 320 days?
Yeah.
320-ish days?
This coming February will be a year.
That's awesome.
Yes. I don't have a taste to drink anymore.
That's cool.
I was covering up all those painful memories and that pain, and now that that's not there, I just don't even feel like drinking. I could if I want, but
that's a great spot to be, because I know there's a lot of people that stop drinking because they know if they start, they're not going to stop. But getting to the place where you could have a drink, but you don't care, but you know that if you did, it's not going to start the process over again. I
also know I have a little bit of an addicted personality.
Yeah.
I was addicted to Taekwondo. I was addicted to the military. I started to, with all the traveling, I had a job that didn't provide me with what I needed, fulfillment wise. And so, using that alcohol as a crutch.
Yeah.
Now that I don't need the crutch, I guess I could, but I'm also healthier. I feel healthier and more clear-headed. And with my TBI, I worry that my wife's going to have to take care of some, me with dementia or something in the future. So I want to be able to be around as long as I can. And I think that abstaining from alcohol for me is going to be the best choice.
It's funny how I think I'm not old. However, I'm older than most of the people who just joined the military. But it's funny how we kind of go through, I think most of us go through a mental shift in, like, we work out and we do certain things because we want to be bigger and stronger. And then there's a point where we're like, okay, I'm shifting the way I work out because I no longer want to be bigger and stronger. I don't want to get small, of course. Nobody wants to get small, but I want to extend my usable years. And like, I want to be more usable during the rest of my years. Cause I know for me, I've shifted a lot of my workouts to where like, I just want to be able to play with my kids for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And hopefully if they have grandkids, still be able to play with them to some extent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you go head to toe, you can probably, just like me, figure out all these different ailments and these things that are going wrong, and they're just going to keep getting, they're not going to get much better.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. You had mentioned a couple things, but I think I want to kind of go back a little bit. You had talked about meeting your now wife back years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
What brought you two back together to where you...
I happened to be on a work trip.
Really?
Yeah. And she's from Minneapolis, so we were there, and I just called her up and we went and had dinner, and she saw me and I saw her, and I was like, wow, this is, you haven't changed. And it was just the way it was. And I was getting ready to go on that last deployment. And I'd already, the ex-wife and I she wasn't my ex yet. I just needed to do some soul searching and some thinking during that deployment. And I called the command psych, and I was like, listen, this is what I'm thinking. I don't know what I should do. I told him my story, what happened. He goes, Chad, I'm going to tell you right now, I have never seen anyone recover from that. You need to, for your own mental health, you need to leave that situation. So I got back, and the day after I got back from the deployment, I went up and talked with him, and he coached me for about 3 hours. And then I went and broke it off with my ex-wife and started dating my now wife. I was getting ready to go to training unit from the command, and we could carry almost twice the amount of leave that everyone else can over there.
Yeah.
And I had to burn through all that leave or I was going to lose it. So that summer, I just would take 29 days of leave and fly out and see my now wife, right? And spend time with her. And then we were dating for a little while, and we finally got married. We started dating in 2015, and we got married in 2016.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I moved her from Minneapolis. I gained a daughter.
Nice.
She's wonderful. Both of those girls have helped me learn compassion and kindness. They're probably the two kindest people I know. And God brought them in my life. And he knew I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed that soft touch of a gentle woman that can. She also will shoot me straight too, which I need. She takes care of me, we'll say.
That's good.
I don't know where I'd be without her right now.
Yeah.
I take care of her too, but God brought her. I had made a prayer back when I was 18. I said, I love her so much. If there's some way that I can marry her someday. Well, he knew, but she needs to go through her stuff. Mm-hmm. You need to go through your stuff. Because if we had gotten married back then, it wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah.
It was perfect timing. God's perfect timing brought us back together at the right time, especially when I needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting to think? Is like, think about the, we've talked about the things that happened earlier in childhood, and then the Taekwondo, and how those didn't work out the way you wanted it to, but they gave you something on this other side. Well, sometimes not getting something that you want can be the thing that doesn't end up causing more problems. Like, I think about that in different things in my life too, where, man, I'm glad this thing didn't happen. I'm glad I didn't get married earlier on, because I was very selfish at the beginning of my military career, and it was hard enough to date and be half decent, and and that's just a me problem. But it's cool to see that, like you said, you were able to both go through what you needed to go through, and then find each other again, and that was the perfect timing to mesh. And
yeah, my prayers too right now are, God, you kept me alive and you had me around. What is my purpose?
yeah,
Use me. And so out of the blue lately, guys have been calling me that are struggling, and I just kind of help guide them and like, hey, there's these nonprofits that can help you with this or that. And like, can I pray with you?
yeah,
Would you like to, I have one of my friends, we do a discipleship program. We meet online and we just talk about God and,
That's awesome.
the gospel. And
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help these guys. And, this podcast came available. I figure, hey, I'll bear my soul if it can help some other people.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing, because like you said, my purpose for the podcast is exactly this: for you to be able to share whatever you want about your EOD career or before and after, right? And then the result of what I hope each one of these episodes does is allow people to either identify with an experience and understand that, hey, they can get through it too. And there's, hopefully see some ways that they can, and some things that they can point to. And maybe it's the person. Maybe you reach out and then, if Chad, you can reach out to me. And then what I do, just so everybody knows, I don't immediately give anybody's contact information out, but I do the Navy thing and I say, okay. And then I'll reach out to you to see if it's okay to give it. Cause
if anyone needs help, needs some recommendations for direction, or just wants to talk, I'm here to talk to anyone. That's kind of what I've been doing to find fulfillment the last few years, is really just trying to help other guys. God provides the opportunity too. I haven't searched for any of it.
Yeah.
It's just like all of a sudden I get a phone call. I got a text last month from some guy I talked to well over a year ago, and he told me that he was on a downward spiral and was about to end everything. And now him and his wife have patched things up. He found a church that he loves, and he's thriving. And just, they gave me like, made me happy.
Yeah.
Just, I want to see other guys doing well.
Yeah. And I know we talked about it before the podcast when we were talking about potentially doing this, and you've mentioned it a few times, finding that purpose in a job, in your extracurricular activities, but that's just straight up in life. It's so important to find a purpose, because it becomes not just about me and what do I want, but usually the purpose is, how can I help this organization, this group of people, or maybe just this individual.
Right.
That I think you've mentioned it a bunch, which I think is really cool.
I think don't do what I did. So when I retired, getting ready to retire, I went through the Honor Foundation, which is a great way for you to really dig into, hey, what is life like on the outside as a civilian, and what do you want to do? Well, I was already offered jobs before I got out of the Navy, so I hit the easy button. Thinking back, I wish I had done a little bit more diligence and really done some soul searching to figure out what would be a more purposeful job.
Yeah.
Right. Right now, I got a job and I'm working back in the EOD community as a contractor, and it's great to be back.
Yeah.
Right. And be back around the brotherhood. And yeah, I'm not making as much money as I did, but having that job satisfaction is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Honor Foundation, would you say, is spending more mental effort in it when you were going through it would have been more beneficial?
Really, I knew I had jobs lined up, but really thinking about more of, are those jobs going to give me the satisfaction and sense of purpose that I personally require, as opposed to, hey, it's a good paycheck.
Right.
And it's stability.
Yeah. I've heard that from a lot of people, that the Honor Foundation specifically is really good at assessing you and what you want, and helping guide you to companies or at least areas that would best fit what you're looking to get and where you're looking to to serve or help or just get that satisfaction, that fulfillment out of.
They definitely have that. They can do that. They're all around the nation now. So I think there's one in this area too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been surprised at how many people that I know have gone to those. And then I've never heard anybody say anything bad about the Honor Foundation. Like
That's great.
It's the only thing I've heard is, and it's not actually a bad thing, but it's that when you sign up to do it, it is a legitimate commitment, which is kind of, in my mind, it's actually a positive because it shows that it's not just going to be like a Navy program, whatever it's called for getting out, where it's like, okay, you checked
TAPS class.
You check all the boxes and then, okay, cool. Now you're okay. No, it's not like that at all. It's actually trying to benefit you.
The networking, resume writing, interview practice, going around to a city where you go see all different types of businesses and see how they are operating. And you realize too that we're operating at such a high level in Navy EOD that, a lot of these companies, I don't know how they get through day-to-day operations with the personnel and the way that they run things.
Yeah. So you said you liked jumping.
And I used to.
Yes, right. And that's what I wanted to get to, because if you don't mind sharing, because there's different levels of jumping. You've got your standard airborne static line, black hat, hoo-yah, which you didn't have to go through, so you're lucky.
Funny story.
Okay.
When I checked in for selection at the command, they were like, you're not recognized. The Army doesn't recognize, and the Joint Command does not recognize that course, that static line course you went through. So me and one of my other friends went through selection with me, ended up having to go to Benning as qualified free fall parachutists with 60 jumps or so. We wore our jump wings, and the black hats freaked out. They did not like it. And the head Marine Corps officer had to bring all of them in and us in. And he's like, first of all, these two shouldn't be here. Second of all, they are qualified and they will wear their jump wings during this training. I remember I was the first out of the door for our first jump, and the guy that was the jump master looked at me. He's like, are those jump wings? I was like, yeah. He's like, are you scared? I was like, no. He's like, I don't get it. I was like, if I see you on the ground, I'll tell you the story. And I'm like, are we ready? Can I jump? But that was worse than going through boot camp, right?
Yeah.
And then rolled straight from there. A few weeks later, I was out in Arizona with selection doing our free fall training out there.
Yeah. So that next level, free fall, and free fall's fun until you start putting everything on, and then it gets not fun really quick. Everybody says it. The military can take the fun out of anything, right? Then you do like all the equipment, and then you have to do all that at night, and then there's making sure that you're qualified, but then there's prepping for an actual deal. And I'm assuming that the prepping for actual deals is one of the reasons why you don't want to jump again.
You have to be proficient, and depending on what's going on in the world, you might have to train a little bit more. When you show up at midnight to do your first JMPI, to jump on the bird to do 4 or 5 night jumps that evening, full equipment, full wall walker, do that for 3 weeks straight, it wears on you. And it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
At least for me. There's some guys that just love jumping no matter what.
Yeah.
I kind of did, and then I went on that 3-week trip, and I was like, I'll jump, but it's not... I missed one of the jump workups because I blew out my patellar tendon. Oh, no. I missed another one time. I had surgery on my distal bicep tendon, so I missed that jump trip. So, you know, I wasn't sad.
Yeah.
But I knew I could jump at any time and still do it. I had enough experience.
Yeah. I don't want to ask any other questions on there because I feel like those are us hanging out questions, not podcast questions.
Sure. Thanks.
Now, is there anything else from your military side of career that you want to share that you think might be helpful?
Just when you're in, you know, you spot those guys that might need help. If you've gotten help that you need, whether it's physical, mental, or whatever, don't be afraid to talk. And then if you need it, don't be afraid to talk. I mean, I stuffed my stuff for so long. It eventually got to a point where it boiled over. And then I went and sought the help that I needed. And so don't wait for that to happen. Also, like we were talking before, a little bit about being hurt or injured. If you're hurt, suck it up. Get through it.
Yeah.
But if you're injured, get help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can be physical or mental.
Right.
Or spiritual.
Yeah, and that's actually a perfect line too. I know you said about a year and a half or so ago, you never lost your faith, but you really got back to practicing and God.
So it was actually 2021, something happened.
Okay.
And all I heard in my brain for about a month was seek ye first the kingdom. Seek ye first, seek ye first. And so I was like, okay. So I just started opening the Bible every morning and reading a little bit, praying. And I noticed the days I did that, things just seemed to work out a little bit better. Yeah. I felt more at peace. And the days I didn't, there was like stumbling blocks, and I just wasn't able to deal with life in the same way. And, the closer I've gotten in my walk, the more opportunity God has placed for me to help others. And I feel grateful that he's kept me around. And I know he has a purpose. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. But yeah, I just want to give back because I'm alive and probably shouldn't be. So, he saved me. So I'd like to just share with others that you can be saved too.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that, because especially it seems like nowadays it's like a taboo thing to admit to, that you believe God and that he can actually do things and work in your life and make your life better. I also think I've heard this a few times that, a lot of people, the first time we may realize what God's purpose for our life is when we get to heaven and he tells us. But the goal is to show up every day, just like with EOD. You do all your training, you show up every day, you go out on your deployments, you'll be there to help when you need to help. If you do that with your faith, reading the Bible, praying, paying attention to God and what he has for you, then when those times come that he can use you, you can be used.
In those times, there will be those times where you're like, what do you have me here for? What is going on? You just got to get through those times, and it's fun to look back and see, oh, that's what you were doing. Yeah. I'm grateful because I would have been here, and you brought me to a much more fulfilling spot in my life because of what I went through.
Yeah, I agree. That's it's cool to have those look back parts. Those are the things that'll make you smile, even if while you were going through it, it was not a smile.
That's right. That's right. It's never fun, but being put in the crucible, come out, something special.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming and sitting down and sharing.
It's been great.
This is it's been fun. What I like about it is, I appreciate you not hearing, but reading the message and then reaching out. And one of the funnest parts for me is getting to meet different guys from the community and sit down and just and learn about them and share and just hear the stories and have this little bit of time of just hanging out. So,
yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to give to the force, to anybody listening, whether not necessarily military related, but just anything at all?
No, I think we covered most of it. Let me double check to see if there's anything. One last thing. The points I really wanted to get across was, having faith in God, how he answers prayers, and he has a plan for everyone. That's important. Get help. There's lots of nonprofits out there for guys that, you can get help with. When you retire, have a support system, right? Some friends that you can hang out with or lean on when time gets tough, or family. Yeah. Have someone. Don't be out there alone. And then getting a job with purpose. When you get out, don't just jump for that first job that offers you a lot of dollar signs, because that may be the biggest mistake that you'll make.
Wise words. Yeah. Something that I will have to be keeping in mind in the next few years as I'm starting to get ready for retirement. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And if you ever want to come back on again, let me know.
All right. Thanks, brother.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Echo Oscar Delta podcast, where we talk to Navy EOD techs and hear the stories that they want to share.